Steven, have you ever read a book during a sporting event?
It's a good question. I don't believe I have. Although
Why would you?
no, never read a book. No,
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's not that crazy.
Well,
Not if it's like self-help stuff.
we'll get into that. But like, if you're there to watch a game. What the hell are you doing?
I'm trying to get in the zone, Derek.
So you didn't feel it was that big of a deal that AJ Brown was reading a book during a playoff game?
Not really. I just kind of glossed over it. It's a weird thing for sure, but I didn't really care.
I don't care that much either. Although props to Jim Murphy. The Inner Excellence is a number one book on Amazon right now. So good for him. But yeah, if you saw AJ Brown, I thought it was a little bit of him looking for inspiration, but also it kind of was perceived as I'm bored. Only caught one pass for 10 yards, and I'm going to read a book. So not the biggest thing in the world, but also I could see it being perceived because he's definitely, alluded to him not being happy with the passing game. So not a huge deal, but also like it's a playoff game. I want to read that book.
It is a strange tactic, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I can't say I've ever read a book at a sporting event. I don't think I would ever bring a book out in public, to be completely honest with you.
Book in public?
Yeah, like I mean, like unless I like had some downtime or like I'm on a flight. But besides that, like I don't know, like these people that bring books to bars. It's like you're there to drink and be social. You don't be antisocial and read a book.
Or they're just there to drink a little bit of alcohol and keep to themselves. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Unless it's like some kind of like, old-fashioned pub or speakeasy, and you're sitting in the corner having yourself a nice brandy and pipe and one of those corncob pipes, and then having yourself a nice book.
Sitting in a nice red what do they call it? Red velvet chair with a nice purple bathrobe with your arms crossed, a little scotch and many leather-bound books in rich mahogany.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of like the type of thing like the character you ever seen The World's End with Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright and Nick Frost? Yeah, it'd be like Pierce Brosnan's character in that movie.
Who is he again?
He was like their old professor, but they would see him in a pub and he'd just be like, "Hello, boys," and he'd be there just like with a book and drinking, smoking a pipe.
Yeah, the guy
like Christoph Waltz would do in a movie.
The guy I have in my head is this dude on Instagram. He's this British guy. I can't remember his name, but he goes to different events or to downtown cities and gives compliments to people, but in a very British way.
Yeah,
I'll just put it that way. He's got like this mustache, this purple robe on, these sick looking shoes with some khakis, I think, and he's always just like what was one that he said? He's like, "Your shorts are putting in an excellent shift today, sir. Make sure you check the time card," or something like that.
Check the time card. What the hell does that mean?
I don't know, dude. It's British people. I don't know.
Yeah, you fucking weirdos. But yeah, not that big of a deal with AJ Brown. Although I will say the one, and I love people in the chat right now. Ernie1, does Derek even read books? Yes, I do. Just hasn't been quite some time, and that's my New Year's resolution is to read, what I say, 3 books this year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal is to read. Maybe I'll read this book that AJ Brown was reading on the sideline. But I remember a long time ago, I think this was like Dave Fleming's second year doing Giants play-by-play. He was doing like a KMBR talkback thing, and he was talking about how some play-by-play guys don't take it for granted. And then I remember sitting next to him, and I was like, "So, can you name any names?" And he goes, "I'm not going to name any names." But I remember I've seen play-by-play guys during playoff games read books between the innings they weren't calling, and I never wanted to be that guy. And I was like, God, I can't imagine that. That's lame as hell.
The AJ Brown thing it doesn't seem that he's done it before. I didn't know he's done it before.
So he claims.
That's what that's what he's saying. I'm actually looking it up now. The book has been up 53 million% in sales on Amazon. That's great.
Now, my question is, had he caught that pass, the fake tush push, which God, I've been asking for that for years now. If he caught that, you think he's reading the book?
Does the book have an idea on how to catch a pass? Does it
No,
have a passage?
I think he just goes to whenever he's pissed off. Maybe
it's that's a weird thing. It was him they missed on the fake tush push.
Dude, that was the play. That was the play. But I'm waiting for that for fucking 3 years now.
Yeah. I could have had it too.
Yeah, he definitely could have. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We are going to review not Super Wildcard Weekend, just regular old Wildcard Weekend. And yeah, Stephen texted me earlier today. Definitely appropriate to take the Super off because the game's not so great. It was football at the end of the day. I think the only competitive game probably was Commanders Bucks. But this is what's going to happen sometimes with Wildcard Weekend. You get a lot of teams that, when you expand the playoffs to 7 teams, there's going to be certain teams that make it, you're like, should they have been in there in the first place? This is the week. Divisional playoffs. I ask the same question every year. I won't this year when we do the next podcast on Thursday. This is the best weekend of the year when it comes to football, maybe even sports. But yeah, let's not go crazy and talk about like we got to change the CFP, we got to change, the NBA and MLB. NFL playoffs are fine the way it is. I would even like to go back to the original format of just 6 teams, but it is what it is. But yeah, this is going to happen sometimes when you have subpar teams making the playoffs.
I don't know if they were subpar teams. They were just good teams that had subpar performances when it mattered most. And that's what sucked about the weekend. I was actually really looking forward to it. And it's just dud after dud after dud throughout.
Yeah, it's still football, though.
Still duds.
Yeah. Which games were you expecting to be like? I don't know. I guess Packers-Eagles was a little disappointing with the play.
I was expecting the Chargers to at least put up a fight against the Texans. I expected the Steelers to do something against their division rival, who they've mostly stopped through the season. Rams-Vikings, I expected to be a lot closer. I thought that was going to be the game of the weekend. Buccaneers-Commanders was good. Eagles-Packers, I didn't expect much. Packers have just been reeling all season. I can't believe they even have 11 wins this year. And then Bills and Broncos, I got the hopes up that it would be a good game after that opening drive by Denver, but after that, it was just smooth sailing for Buffalo. So I expected 4 out of the 6 games that were played. I expected them to be at least decent, but they weren't.
I expect things to be a lot better this weekend. Although I can't say,
yeah, for sure.
We'll definitely get to it on Thursday. Commies Lions, that could go either way for me. That could be a competitive game, or that could definitely be a blowout.
I think that's going to get ugly.
You think so?
I think so for Washington, yeah.
Yeah. And then Chiefs-Texans, we've seen that already a couple times now. I don't know if that's going to be any different, but we'll see. We'll talk about them more as we dive into the games on Thursday, but just to recap everything from the weekend, we'll talk about the CAD coaching news as well. But just to start with the games, we all met up in San Jose. Me, Steven, our guy Alexander Scott, and Cody Elias, and my little brother Nick, and Carl Buszczek all went to Jack's in San Jose to watch these games on Saturday. And I think, God, I haven't heard you laugh as hard at something until my little brother told you the story about when he met John Gruden. That may have made your day.
That was amazing. That made my weekend.
I met John Gruden when I was a little kid, and it wasn't as memorable. Like, it was awesome for me because that's the first time I met John Gruden. I was like, this guy's my guy here. My dad was interviewing him, and I asked him, what's your favorite candy bar? And he said, Snickers, man. But that was about it. In 2017, I was working pregame with Chris Townsend when the Raiders played the Philadelphia Eagles on Christmas. And my dad and little brother went to go to the game, and they see John Gruden. At that time, there were some rumors rumbling that Gruden's going to come back to coaching, and the Raiders were not having a good season. So my dad sees Gruden with my little brother, and my dad goes up to Gruden. He's like, John, how you been? He's like, Greg, it's good to see you again, man. Hey, this is your son? Look at this kid, man. Love this kid. And then, and then my dad goes, John, we need you. We need you to come back. We the Raiders need you bad. And John just smiles and nods and goes, mm-hmm. Yep. Turns to my little brother and goes, look at this kid, man. Can't get enough of this kid. Look at him. Yeah. That's definitely something you could see John Gruden say.
It's just the most John Gruden thing ever. That's the go-to. Yeah. That's the go-to line whenever you're doing a John Gruden impression. It's like, oh, look at this guy, man. I love that guy, man. But to actually hear him say that to your brother, that did make my, plus your brother had a decent impression. So it got me on a variety of levels. Plus I already had we had a couple of beers by that point. So, I was feeling giggly, and that one really got me.
Yeah. That day took me back to my young days. I think I had like maybe 5 Jack and Cokes. Yeah. I was feeling it the next morning. Really? The key is water, kids. The key is water.
You're feeling it?
A little bit.
I had a long BART ride home. Although on BART, because it took like an hour, and I'm sorry, everybody, to be honest, I'm pretty, I don't sound it. I'm actually surprised that my voice sounds okay, but I'm a little sick right now. So my mind is moving at a very slow pace. So
you sound better than Troy Aikman did last night.
Jesus. Yeah, I know. Right. I was thinking that. I was like, God, he could do that. Maybe I should go into work.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a good look though. That's why I don't go in, because it's not a good sounding thing. But take a day off, but I guess you can't really. It's your playoff game Monday night. You got to do it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the night, I transferred onto the bus at 19th, or the train rather, at 19th to get to Walnut Creek, and lo and behold, some guy who I remember distinctly from a few months ago, who was absolutely on fentanyl or some sort of drug. He was standing in the middle of the BART platform. It was at Montgomery, and he was nodding off just in the middle. He was one of those guys who was standing there, but his legs were bent, and he's just slowly rocking back and forth. And I think that's fentanyl. And someone literally went up to him and was like, "Are you okay?" And he woke up, that kind of thing. So I thought to myself, man, that guy, I hope he's okay. And then lo and behold, guy gets on the train before Walnut Creek. Didn't look much better. I think he was probably on something, but still, the guy's with us. So that's what matters. So that was good. That was good to see him.
Nice. I mean, did he remember you?
No, his eyes were closed the entire time.
I figured.
Yeah. I don't think that guy knows of anything surrounding him, but the fact that I saw him when a few months ago, I'm like, God, I hope he's going to be okay. And then you see him on the train. All right, he's fine. There's also a guy who was snoring relentlessly in the back of the train. My God, I haven't heard a snore that loud ever. I didn't. How could a man breathe when he's snoring like that? It's insane.
Big fella.
A bigger fella, yes.
Yeah.
Laying down in the middle of the row. I'll try again.
At any point, did you decide to move cars?
No.
Oh. Okay.
No, I should have, but I didn't. No,
fair enough.
So I was at the end of the car where there's no door to get onto the next one. It's the end of the, I don't know what you call it. I guess you'd call it a car, but it's the end of the line thing. I don't know. And the other side, you had to go through the gauntlet of guy who's clearly on fentanyl that I remember from a while ago, the snorer, and then some other guy whose foot was hanging beyond the seat. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick right here. I don't need to move.
All right. As long as you were comfortable.
Yeah. There's always, it's so funny. There's always one guy who's just terrified on those ones. Some people who take BART are used to that, who routinely take it. But there's one guy who's just, keep an eye on everything. Eyes wide, sit up straight, no headphones, no nothing. Just making sure no one's going to rob him or something. It's always pretty funny.
Well, it's I'm glad you came home in one piece from your BART adventures.
Oh yeah,
Stephen.
Oh yeah, it's a good time.
AJ Cruz asks, "Where's the call-in line? I got a lot to say." Has Walter got a call-in line going on his podcast, The Passion for the Pastime? Walter, not even 2 weeks in, we're going to get a call-in. Huh. Wow. Nicely done, Walter. Well, I don't know how to do that on here. Maybe we can in the future, but if you guys have questions, by all means, post it and we'll Answer promptly. I promise. Better than Walter. Sometimes he forgets like 15 minutes. And he's like, what was that in reference to? Love my guy, Walt. All right, let's get to these playoff games. And let's start off in chronological order with the Chargers taking on the Texans. I was surprised with this game, Steven. We were watching it together. The Texans came out a little flat, but so did the Chargers. They were running the ball all right to start things. And it really wasn't until Nico Collins got involved that the Texans started doing things offensively. Sloppy play at first. There was a fumble. I remember that a wide receiver caught over the middle. I think it was John Mechie. And then the Chargers recovered. But they didn't do anything to, capitalize on those turnovers. The big play really was after the half, after Nico Collins scored his touchdown. Derwin James had a great interception in the end zone, but turns out he dropped it. And which led to the Texans continuing the drive, kick the field goal, and then on a high pass off of Ladd McConkey's fingertips, it's intercepted, comes back the other way. The score, I thought, was misleading of how dominant the Texans were in this game. It wasn't really till the second half that they pulled away.
Right.
But the combination of the pass rush of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter definitely affected Justin Herbert. And I know people are coming away after this loss with Herbert throwing 4 interceptions, being like, Herbert's a fraud. He's definitely not as good as we thought he was. That's crazy because I've seen a lot of great quarterbacks have bad performances in the playoffs. And it's early in his career. I understand he hasn't been in the playoffs a lot. His 2 playoff losses are now this 4 interception performance and him blowing a 27-0 lead. So it doesn't look good. However, I would also argue that the Texans have a really good defense. They picked off Jared Goff 5 times in a game this year. But also, it's clear that Justin Herbert needs some weapons. I don't think Ladd McConkey's enough. I don't think Quentin Johnston's that good of a receiver. While I was watching this game, I thought about the next day. If we're thinking about a spot for Deebo Samuel, I don't think the Chargers are a bad spot. I think they could use him in the same way as the Niners do. Greg Roman would love him as kind of like a Swiss Army knife type of running back / wide receiver, just a safety valve over the middle that could help Justin Herbert out. So I could see Deebo being an option for the Chargers. But give it to the Texans. They have another great performance from a year ago where they picked off Joe Flacco a couple of times and returned them for touchdowns. And this game, it was the same thing. So kudos to the Texans, and I was surprised by the early exit by the Chargers.
My thing with the Chargers is first I'll start with the positive. CJ Stroud looked a little bit better than he has. He was obviously turnover prone, but some of these completions that he got were solid, and also the run game was going. And I think there was a theme to this weekend, Derek, and I think this is gonna be a theme throughout. But teams without a run game now, and I think we've seen this. This is why we were always questioning why they were underpaid. Teams without a run game that really can establish things for an offense, they're going to struggle in the postseason. And I think having Joe Mixon behind CJ Stroud, though it didn't seem like much at first, him getting into the end zone, not being forced to throw it when they're in the red zone, which is what it feels like the Chargers were forced to do. But when you have a mix of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, like those guys are fine, but I think you do need like a bruiser, a bell cow type of guy. And I don't want to get to the other games yet, but you saw, for example, like with the Commanders and Austin Eckler, how the broadcast was even surprised that Austin Eckler kind of was a no-show in that game against the Buccaneers. Well, Bucky Irvin, I think, played okay. Yeah. But I think that's really what the downfall is. You mentioned the weapons too. That's obviously a huge thing. They need to get Justin Herbert somebody. But I think that not having a run game combined with the lack of weapons, I mean, I don't know why we expected the Chargers to go so far. I think it's the Jim Harbaugh thing. Maybe it's the turnaround that he had with Michigan, obviously what he did with Stanford, what he did with 49ers, all those teams. But at the end of the day, talent is what's going to get you as far as possible in these playoffs. And I just don't think that the Chargers had the power, really. I just didn't think so.
Yeah, but I think that we could say that for most of the season, we thought the Chargers were a better football team than the Texans, right?
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
we were. I think throughout the season we were more on the just CJ Stroud is having a sophomore slump, and that's why they're going to lose this game.
Yeah.
Like going into this year, it was. I thought the Texans were a better team than the Chargers on paper.
Yeah, on paper, but then they had injuries, obviously, to Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. And who knows if those guys ever return to that team. But yeah, I mean, I was expecting the Chargers to play. I mean, shit, they had the number one rated defense all season long. And Khalil Mack got to CJ Stroud a couple times in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it really was the difference was Justin Herbert, being ineffective throwing the football. And they got great corners. Derek Stingley is a ball hawk in this league.
Yeah.
And the other guy, I don't want to screw his name up, but I will probably. Lassiter.
Try.
Yeah. Well, I can't say his first name, and it's not on the top of my head right now. But Lassiter, the other guy that had interception. Eric Murray was the guy that had the pick six. But yeah, I thought that. I mean, the combination of the defense that the Chargers have been displaying all season and the running game just didn't get effective at all. I mean, what did J.K. Dobbins end up with? Just 26 yards. I mean, Gus Edwards. They made to improve the running game. I mean, J.K. Dobbins had a good year, but I could see them trying to get like a better running back. So, hats off to the Texans. They won the game, and they definitely were impacted by the bulletin board material from Rex Ryan saying this would be a bye week. So they were having fun in the post game, smoking cigars. Apparently, Deontay Johnson can't just enjoy a good moment. He, I guess, was pissed off that he wasn't involved in the playoff win when he just got there and got cut today. So whatever, we'll see about his future in the NFL.
The hell is with the Steelers just pumping out these head cases?
Yeah, I know, dude. Yeah, we'll talk about George Pickens too. But yeah, in the end, Texans advance, and I can't see them. I mean, we're going to pick this game on Thursday, but I don't think that they'll beat the Chiefs. But good performance against the Chargers.
You know what's sad? Still no playoff wins for Khalil Mack, Derek. Still no playoff wins.
Yeah. Man. God, he was in some... Well, the Texans game, God, 8 years ago now?
Yeah.
They were never winning that game with Connor Cook. The Doink game where he was with the Bears, Cody Parkey. Yeah, that was a tough one. And that's it. Yeah, and then this game. Yeah. I mean, after the game where you see Khalil Mack is contemplating retirement, I'm like, oh, man, already?
Yeah.
And it makes sense. He's got, was it 10 years now? Yeah, 10 years. Jesus, God. Remember when he got drafted? That would suck. I don't think he's coming back to the Chargers. I think they're moving on from him. I wonder about Joey Bosa, but he's younger of the two. If anything, I would hope Khalil Mack comes back, but I think he's going to go to a different team. And if I had to guess, I know I saw Spadoni tweet out, come home to the Raiders. I don't think that's happening. I think if anything, he would go team up with Fangio again and probably go to the Eagles or something like that.
Well, that's because Spadoni wants to get some use out of his Khalil Mack jersey. So there's a selfish thing there.
I don't blame him for that. I mean, it'd be sweet to see Khalil Mack come back to the Raiders, but at this point, I think he wants to win a Super Bowl. So I would say either go to where he played college in Buffalo or Philly.
Yeah, I mean, that might be anywhere is going to be lucky to have him. Just get him somewhere where he could win a playoff game, man.
And also, I mean, we were talking about the Chargers improving their receiving core. I mean, they should be a team that should be on T. Higgins, but I doubt they're going to want to pay a shit ton of money for a wide receiver. That's just not how Jim Harbaugh rolls. So I could see Debo being a good option for them if they need to improve the receiving core, and they definitely do. So, yeah, disappointing end to the Chargers season. You thought that Harbaugh, with what he's accomplished in the past with the 49ers, but it was going to be an uphill battle with him being, going on the road for each game. Dante Whitner was confident that they were going to go to the AFC Championship game, and they probably will in time, but not right now. They're still learning how to be a good team.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we move on to the Amazon Prime game of the night. The Steelers and Baltimore Ravens, the third time they played this season. They split the series this season, I should say. And I thought that the Steelers would come with a little fight. I mean, God, losing 4 in a row in the fashion that they did, next to nothing offensively. I thought they played better defensively, especially without Zay Flowers out there for the Ravens. Nothing changed. Derrick Henry ran all over him. Lamar Jackson looked comfortable. There was a couple times in this game where we thought maybe the Steelers would come back, but for the most part, they just dominated. They kicked their ass. So I know a lot of people are, questioning if Mike Tomlin should be the coach of this team going forward. It's very similar to Kyle Shanahan, where there's years of consistency when it comes to being competitive. But lately, it's 5 straight losses in the postseason. They all have been blowouts for the most part. But would you trade that for getting a brand new head coach and not knowing what you're going to get? Now, with Kyle Shanahan, it's different, but
I don't think head coaches deserve to get fired unless they have like a track record of losing seasons, or if they have just completely lost the locker room like Josh McDaniels did. Like Mike Tomlin doesn't deserve to get fired. With this game, though, I think something we should have remembered and something that should have been put into pregame analysis if it already wasn't. We were focusing so much on what the Ravens didn't have, but even when the Steelers were the best defense in the league, towards the end of the season, when they started to give up some points and started reeling a little bit, even after their wins, don't you remember how this team was talking about each other? Like this weird, this dynamic, this dysfunction where you got Cam Hayward saying you got 10 guys putting in the effort and one guy who's not. It's not that hard. TJ Watt coming out and giving these I'm not going to say thinly veiled. I'll say thickly veiled suggestions that there's that there's an issue. Yeah, 2 C's. That there's an issue on this defense. So when a team's talking like that, like you got to know, all right, they're probably not going to get very far in the playoffs. I didn't expect the Ravens to be able to hang nearly 300 rushing yards on them. I think they got to 299. I didn't expect that, but you look at, I'm sorry, I keep on going forward to other teams, but you look at like what the Eagles are doing right now, even with the AJ Brown stuff. Did you see that reaction with Saquon Barkley at the end?
Yeah.
Sweet. Sick moment with Devontae Smith. Come here. Give him the father. Come here. You gotta run, bro. That's a team that's together. Even if there seems there's always something wrong with Nick Sirianni because he's just always yelling at people. But the Steelers, there was something wrong. And then Arthur Smith even like hinting that he'd almost rather go with Justin Fields than Russell Wilson. Just stuff like that. You're like, they may be winning games here, but something's off. And I think we saw that come to a head in this loss to the Ravens. Look, dude, this is an AFC North divisional game. Like at the end of the day, I know it's a playoff game too. It's meant to be much closer than that. It's meant to be gritty, low scoring, that you don't know who's going to win in the end. You're expecting like a 19-17 score. I don't know, something like that, even lower than that. But you didn't get that this time. And I think that just proves something was off with the Steelers.
Yeah, for how many times Mike Tomlin has faced John Harbaugh, I mean, most of those times have been pretty competitive, with the exception of maybe like a wild card game here or there. I remember where the Ravens kicked the Steelers' ass.
Right.
But for the most part, it is physical. And it just felt like the Steelers, for whatever reason, lacked physicality towards the end of this season. And for them to almost allow 300 yards rushing, that is unheard of for Steelers defense.
Crazy.
And as good as Russell Wilson was for most of the season and the time that he played, he didn't do much offensively. He kind of reverted back to, not like he was like throwing interceptions all over the joint, but he kind of looked like
all over the joint?
All over the joint, baby. But he was kind of reverting back to like Denver Broncos Russell Wilson, where he just wasn't doing much offensively. Now, I could say the same thing with Justin Herbert, where it's like, can you rely on George Pickens? Because right now he is, God, we'll play his audio if you want to, but he just doesn't do anything. Like he bitches and complains he's not getting the ball enough. Then he doesn't do much in games. Yeah, I just don't like his whole play, his style. I don't know. Like if you're gonna talk shit, back it up, dude.
Are you talking about this little exchange here at the end?
Yeah, like overly honest here. He's talking about the growth of this offense.
Offense now for 3 years. Have you seen signs of growth, and how much more does this team still need to grow offensively?
Yeah, I've seen signs of growth for sure. From past, the first year I've been here, just way more growth for sure.
Does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
That's
mean,
right. That's right up there right now with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Just not answering anything at the end.
Does that make you optimistic going forward?
Nah.
So what does that mean? Like just because of Russ or Arthur Smith? Like what? And I even wonder if Russ is the right guy for this team going forward. They probably will bring Russell back, but I don't know. Like I was debating it, I think with you guys. If Aaron Rodgers does get cut, is it a better option to go to Aaron Rodgers or
Yeah.
maybe even the Vikings for Aaron Rodgers?
I think it's a conversation for another day, dude.
Yeah.
I want George Pickens to be good so bad. Like I think that guy with the talent that he has, seeing the way that he's able to high point the ball and make these high level catches, just these catches that are extremely difficult for an average wide receiver. Like he could be an elite player, but there's little things where it's like he doesn't block or he does these moves that people love through social media, but you're like, what are you doing? Like the play where he's basically tackling dudes and with cornerbacks and pushing them at the 5-yard line. It's great, but that takes you away from what you really seem to be as a player, which seems unmotivated. He seems to have these issues, but I want him to be such a good receiver, man, because he's got the talent. He's got that. But it seems he needs to find the motivation. I don't know if he needs to move on from the Steelers or what. He's got to be coming up to the end of his rookie contract, right?
I think close to it. Probably like a year left on the deal.
Yeah.
But I mean, you heard rumors today that he was late to the Christmas Day game.
Right.
And they asked Mike Tomlin about it, and I love Mike Tomlin, where he goes, "Yeah, I can't definitively say if he was on time, and that was a long time ago, so I'm not gonna get into that. A long time ago, it was less than a month. You can't remember that, Mike?
Derek, I can literally do their first half stats from the game against the Ravens in my head. You want to, or not in my head, just out loud. I can do them. You ready?
Go for it.
All right. So in the first half, I actually got to get to the game. First half, 6, 9, 12, 17. Then you can take, I guess you can count, screw the one play at the end of the half. We're not going to count that. So they had 17 plays, 17 plays for 23, 31, 50 yards.
Yeah.
17 plays for 50 yards in the first half. Good God.
Yeah. Good God, y'all.
Good God. You all.
Yeah. I think that they need to, we'll see about Najee Harris. I don't know if he's the right guy for them going forward.
No,
there's a lot of,
he's done. They declined the fifth-year option. He's done.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of questions about the Steelers' offense. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's enough to fire Arthur Smith, but I don't know about Russell Wilson. I just don't think it's like, can you really be confident in what you saw down the stretch to be like, let's just run it back? Now, defensively, I think they're awesome. And people are going to be like, well, TJ Watt was a no-show the last few weeks. He was hurt. He definitely fucked up his knee in some regard. So I still think he should be Defensive Player of the Year, but it sounds like Patrick Surtain Jr. is the favorite for that category, which I mean, good for him. Cornerback being Defensive Player of the Year, I don't know about that. We'll see. But yeah, good. I mean, the Ravens look awesome. I think that, I mean, defensively, they're getting way better than where they were at the beginning of the season. I just think that the biggest thing for them against Buffalo, which will be an awesome game this Sunday, is can Buffalo stop the running game, and can they get by without Zay Flowers? If Zay Flowers is not healthy in this game, that may be detrimental for the Ravens' success.
I think so. I mean, but I know you're saying stop the running game, but God, just stopping Allen on third down seems to be impossible right now.
Yeah, let's talk about that game. The Broncos score on their opening possession, and we think, this may be an upset here. We'll see.
Dude, I was so far as to ready to go like, man, what's the problem if you're going to take a quarterback? Why not just take one of his wide receivers from college and just take a flyer on him in the mid to later rounds?
Troy Franklin.
Yeah, because I just saw that first touchdown, and I was ready to go so far as saying that, but I was like, wait, hold on. It's just one drive. Sean Payton's drawing up the plays. Let's wait and get into the game a little bit. And then what happened?
Yeah, I mean, the Bills just dominated. This is what they usually do when they play opening weekend, when they're the 2 seed. They usually play the 7 seed, and they usually kick that team's ass.
Mm-hmm.
This game, I mean, this is the most comfortable I've seen Josh Allen in a playoff game in a little bit of time. Like, last year, uh, they were still figuring things out against the Chiefs with Joe Brady as their play caller. But I mean, this is probably like since maybe that 2020 season where I was like, damn, Josh is slinging it right now. No turnovers. I mean, James Cook, this is what we've been asking for a long time now. 120 yards on the ground. When they play in Buffalo, they need to run the football. And the 4th-and-1 play where he threw to who was it, Ty Johnson? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that was just a sick play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the touchdown pass to Curtis Samuel. Like this was just the Broncos are a young and up and coming team, and the Bills are ready to go to the Super Bowl. Finally, hopefully. The defense was great. Bo Nix, I mean, he threw that touchdown pass to Troy Franklin. But besides that, he's going to have to adapt more than just doing the Oregon offense. And Sean Payton has done a great job kind of adapting himself to what the strengths are of Bo Nix. But Bo Nix is going to have to improvise a little bit and just be a choreographed quarterback, I think. But yeah, I think the future's bright for the Broncos, unfortunately, in the AFC West. And for the Bills, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do against the Ravens this week.
They just wear you down, man. Like the opening of the second half when it's just field goal to open the half for the Bills. Then it's a 3-and-out from the Broncos. Bills score a touchdown. Another 3-and-out. Then the Bills score another touchdown, and boom, it's 28-7. Like they just wear you down, dude. And he's doing it. And there was clearly. I was literally I'm reading that at the same time. Literally just about to say this Otis Bird. He could play more freely. Last year there were issues with Diggs. Yeah. Just not having to worry about a guy like that. I don't think Amari Cooper cares, even though if you're looking at the list of names, he would clearly be the number one wide receiver. But Khalil Shakir, I think, led the team in receptions. Obviously, you mentioned Ty Johnson, him getting that big touchdown. Mac Hollins is he's kind of like I don't want to say he's this year's version of Jawan Jennings, but he's like Jawan Jennings early with the 49ers when he wasn't getting a lot of catches, but he's blocking his ass off and just being a force out there on the field. Obviously, Curtis Samuel is still there and still thriving. Like, I think that's a huge part of it. Like, Josh Allen feels like he doesn't need to rely on just one receiver, knowing that he's not going to get an earful after the game, not going to get all this drama with people asking questions. Like, I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Well,
sorry.
What are you laughing about?
Jessie just came out in one of those masks after she took a shower. She looks like she's Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One of those ones.
The image I got in my mind is when Jim carries the mask and he sees his landlord with the face stuff on. His eyes come out.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That's the biggest difference I've seen in the Bills this year, where Joe Brady schemes it up where you don't need the best receiver out there. Like Amari Cooper's made awesome plays this year when they need him to, but really it's just let's run the football. Let's run it with Josh at times. Let's get such a good running game that we could do play action fakes and just find the wide open guy in the middle. I think that's what's going to help them. Like I look at them and I never think like, oh, they need a number one guy like the Chargers do. No. They spread it around with Matt Collins and Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir.
Not to even mention Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, who both had a few big catches in that game.
Yeah, and this team has turned into a running team, which is what I've always been asking for in the elements that they play in. So, yeah, I would give the edge to Buffalo when they play Baltimore. They played each other, I think, a couple of years ago, Lamar and Josh in a playoff game, and I think the Bills dominated. Yeah, it was 2020. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. We got a lot more time to break down that game, and that's going to be sweet. But, yeah, great performance by the Buffalo Bills.
Also, the Broncos need another running back, too. Javonte Williams just isn't.
Yeah, and he'll be a free agent. They don't have much of a running game, so they definitely need help with that. All right.
Guy I thought was going to be a beast.
I lost in picks by 1. Sucks because I could have changed my pick to the Rams, but nevertheless, too late. Got to do the hot sauce challenge. Got a pita chip, and I put way too much hot sauce on it.
Oh, geez, Derek.
Can I redo this?
No, you're going to go for it.
No, look at you. Oh, geez, Derek, I feel bad. I don't give a shit. All right, here we go. Steven, go ahead and start talking about the Packers and Eagles, and I'll catch up here.
Oh, God. What more is there to say about it? Derek, what are your thoughts?
Shit. Oh, man. You feel in your eyes right away.
Oh.
All right, here we go.
You know what? What I really thought about that that game, and something I kind of agree with in the aftermath, with Tom Brady calling that game, wearing the silver and black, and the way that he was gushing over Zach Bond. I forgot who was running deep, because look, at the end of the day, I'll give you a quick synopsis on the game.
Take as long as you need.
With how Jordan Love was playing, and the fact that all his receivers were getting hurt, obviously, Jaden Reed was a big one, and Christian Watson already out.
Keep going.
And Christian Watson already out. I mean, you can only run the ball so much, and you can't really against that team. But with the way Tom Brady was gushing over Zach Bond, who's on a 1-year deal in Philly, I wouldn't be surprised if they give him a long-term extension with the Raiders just because he's like, come to the silver and black. Huh? Because Tom Brady doesn't want that. That's how Tom Brady is that talks in these things.
You'll get a lot of sacks.
Huh? You'll get a lot of sacks. God, I forgot who the receiver was, but he was covering him deep in the end zone, and Zach Bond got all the way down there and was stride for stride with them, kind of like Fred Warner, and Tom Brady was going nuts. I'm like, God, Tom Brady's going to want to sign that guy pronto.
Brady's going to start poaching some players, I'll tell you that.
Dude, what else is there? The Eagles just dominated that game. It didn't feel like the Packers stood a chance. Jalen Hurts being healthy is a huge thing, and Saquon is just running all over these defenses. So I think, it depends on how the Lions look, but God, right now you're saying the NFC runs through Detroit, but depending on how the divisional round goes, you might say the NFC runs through Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, from the opening kickoff, which was controversial in itself. Oh, man, my tongue. How controversial it was. Jesus. I can't have my tongue move around because it's just killing me on the inside.
Yeah.
On my mouth. This is the most brutal it's been. Way too much sauce. Too much sauce. It was debatable if Keyshawn Nixon actually fumbled that ball or didn't recover it, but nevertheless, the Eagles got it. And did you forget that Jahan Dotson was on this football team? Because I sure did.
Yeah, totally. That trade was like a big deal.
It was a big deal because you do it in division, and it didn't phase the Commanders whatsoever. But the Eagles have barely used him. They really only threw to a few guys on this team. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and my guy Calcaterra. But besides that, they don't really spread it around. The Eagles' offense left a lot to be desired. I think Jalen Hurts looked a little rusty. But the Packers' defense is really good. So they got to him. But the Eagles' defense, man, they might be the best defense in playing in the playoffs right now with how they cover Quinyon Mitchell, their rookie, and Cooper DeJean. They lock up receivers. And Darius Slay looked like his old self where he was running stride for stride with Jaden Reed down the field and just picking off that ball.
Yeah.
But the Zach Bond interception, that was probably the best analyst work I've seen of Tom Brady so far because he was critical finally, where Jordan Love threw over the middle to no one, and Zach Bond made a great read to pick that off. And Tom Brady was like, I don't know who the hell Jordan Love's throwing to right there. But for the most part, yeah, it was a lackluster game. I mean, the Packers got very one-dimensional as an offense down the stretch. Was it effective in certain games? Yes. Josh Jacobs right up there with Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry as the best acquisitions this season. But they need to be more balanced. And I thought Jordan Love took a back seat this year to his first year as a starter a year ago. Not having Christian Watson affected them. They lost Jaden Reed, I think, in this game too. He got banged up, so they were depleted offensively. But Jordan Love, whether he was still injured from his knee from week 1 or having the nerve damage in his hand, he did not have a good game.
No.
And the interception he threw at the end there to Quinion Mitchell, you're just trying to make a play at that point. But yeah, I think, did you see, it's funny enough, you heard Devontae Adams talk about the Packers' problems offensively today?
Oh, no. What did he say?
Sounds like he wants to come back.
Oh.
Basically said, yeah, with the injury to Christian Watson and a lot of those guys being young, they could use some veteran help on that team. And he basically said he regretted leaving Jordan Love on Max Crosby's podcast. So if the Jets cut bait with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, I wouldn't be surprised if Devontae signs back with them.
Oh, my God.
It would make sense. They're not going to have Christian Watson for a full season, and he can just sign a 1-year deal and help them out.
Then why'd you leave, Devontae?
Yeah, I know.
Good God.
He's made a lot of bad choices football-wise.
I don't think anyone's been stuck on the same stat line for as long as Jalen Hurts was stuck on the 6 for 13 for 39 yards stat line. Good God, man. You know how long it took him? I mean, we cheered. We were watching it at Jesse's house. We cheered when he finally completed a pass to Devontae Smith. It's like, whoa, he got it. It's like, my God, man, to get that 7th completion, it was dragging on. It was a slow burn. Actually, now that I think about it, this game was just kind of meh. Meh.
It was definitely meh. And, I mean, really, what stood out was Saquon Barkley running and then him going down at the end of the game because there was no reason to, run up the score. But the defense by the Eagles is really good by Vic Fangio right now. Now, yeah, A.J. Brown caught 1 pass for 10 yards. He had the book on the sideline. I could tell you, in order for the Eagles to win this game against the Rams, they're going to need to be more balanced offensively and throw the football because with how Saquon ran all over the Rams last time on Sunday Night Football, the Rams defense has looked 10 times better since then, and they will probably come to play to make sure that they can stop the run. But most teams are going to have a hard time stopping them. With their offensive line and the way Saquon runs, I mean...
That's the key to me is the offensive line.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping Mekhi Becton, Cam Jurgens. Like, I know the defense is much better, but I think the Vikings offensive line really, in part, I know we're going to get to that game, really let Sam Darnold down yesterday. So I don't know if they're going to do that same, that Rams are going to have the same performance against the Eagles. And by the way, can we play that reaction with Saquon not wanting to run up the score?
Yeah.
And
that's fine.
Is
this on NFL Films?
It's from and the Eagles.
I haven't seen this yet.
The Eagles posted it earlier.
What a keep the run. That's tripping. Wow. Hey, I'm gonna slap this man. No. I know. You said no more. Keep running. No one catching your stuff. Keep running. No more. Go. So, he right. Hey. What you talking about? Hey. Good all the way down there. Oh, this. The extra 60 really just pissed me off.
Yeah. Probably sucked the audio.
Yeah, with all the bleeping out. That's the difference between AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley. Saquon's cool with winning a game. I mean, he rushed for over 100 yards, but he could have got more. He fell down, and at the end of the day, it was more important to win the game. AJ Brown likes to win, but he would also like to get a better stat line, no doubt.
Yeah, but I think that also shows just, I don't know. There's always all this speculation about their relationship and AJ Brown, how he's not getting as many yards as Devontae Smith, Devontae becoming the number 1 guy. But I don't know. I think this team just has a lot of very unique characters. And ultimately, like, I don't know, they might be dysfunctional at times, but I think it works. And ultimately, those two guys know that Saquon's the star.
Yeah.
Like, Saquon's the number 1 guy.
And that's the way it's going to have to be going forward. Now, Could we see a little bit more from the passing game? Yes, and they're going to need that to win against Detroit. Like, if it gets to the point where we have a Eagles-Lions NFC Championship game, that's going to be sweet because both of those teams, basically, their offense runs through their running game. And if those teams can stop it, then it's going to be very interesting. But right now, I would say the team that I was most impressed with overall this weekend, probably the Ravens and Eagles, with how they're able to play defense and run the football.
Yeah. Just old school.
Yep. Then the Sunday night game, the Commanders at the Buccaneers. And I like the stat line of this game. In the end, the Commanders win 23-20. But everyone was talking about how Jaden Daniels is not the first quarterback, but Tom Brady never did this. Peyton Manning never did this. There was a game where they won a playoff game where they did not turn the ball over and did not punt. And I would say that's a good accomplishment for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. However, that's misleading because they turned it over on downs. How many times here? Do they have it in front of me here? Fourth down conversions? I don't, but I believe it was
two.
Yeah, two. It was twice. So that's not technically turning the ball over. I get that, but they did not capitalize on 2 fourth down conversions. However, they won the game, and it was a great performance by Jaden Daniels. He looked unfazed. I keep saying, like, at times this year, there were moments where he looked like a rookie, but for the most part, I was expecting, like, week after week, some defense to blitz him in the same way that Sam Darnold was, and for him to start seeing ghosts. And it hasn't happened. His speed and his ability to see the open receiver when someone is coming after him, he's pretty impressive, man. And I kind of like when we were going through the draft and we were all fawning over Caleb Williams, I like Michael Penix more than Jaden Daniels, but he definitely has shined over every other rookie quarterback this year, even Bo Nix, even though he's thrown more touchdown passes. But yeah, in this game, I mean, it was basically a good fought match between both teams. I thought Baker Mayfield played a good game. Terry McLaurin had a great performance too. Him and De'Ami Brown coming up with 89 yards receiving and a touchdown. Not as much effectiveness on the run for the Commanders in this game. But and Mike Evans was eating up Marshawn Lattimore alive. Like usually in the past, that matchup was good. But with how little Marshawn Lattimore played this season, he was getting cooked by Mike Evans. In the end, the reason the Commanders won this game is because the Buccaneers had a bad third down conversion play that they had to settle for a field goal, and then the botched snap that led to a fumble recovery for the Commanders.
Right.
So if it wasn't for that play, I'm not sure that they come away with this victory, but it was just a good, even fought match. And in the end, a doink kick goes in and the Commanders advance.
The point that you made with Jaden Daniels, I think what's shining brightest on his current resume so far is his ability to, I mean, you talked about the patience, but his ability to stay patient and stay calm and composed, even with the game on the line. The last 5 wins were all decided on the last possession. They were all 1-score games. And sometimes it was the Washington defense who made a stop, but for the most part, it's been Jaden Daniels and getting his team into field goal position or getting a game-winning touchdown. We've seen it in overtime early, like I think against the Giants early in the season, and then that game against the Bengals. It was the week after my wedding, and it was the Monday Night Football game. It was the crappy doubleheader, but the Commanders and Bengals were on there, and they had the game-winning touchdown. In the final seconds, you're like, damn, this guy might be for real. So I think that though they're not going to play the cleanest game ever, I know you mentioned they didn't have any turnovers, but it feels like they've been playing in these kind of, I don't want to say grimy, but these games where
gritty.
It can go either way. It can go either way, and the Commanders have come out on top more often than not. It might be a credit to Dan Quinn too. But god damn, dude, he looks so good in the final 2 minutes. It's really impressive the way he's able to run a 2-minute drill. So I think that was my big takeaway here. To be honest, I was kind of disappointed for the Buccaneers because I think they played really, really well this season, and I kind of wanted to see Baker move on. But the Commanders just continued to be one of the best stories in the NFL with how they played.
Yeah, and the way they were able to turn it around this season, having the second overall pick, Adam Peters coming in, not getting Ben Johnson, settling on Dan Quinn, getting Cliff Kingsbury, drafting Jaden Daniels, and having a successful season. Now, that being said, we're going to pick this game on Thursday between the Commanders and Lions. It could be a shootout. I think the Commanders' defense is going to have a really hard time stopping the Lions' offense. Big time. And we'll talk about how the most interesting part of that game may be the broadcasters. We'll get to that a little later. I see Tacky in the chat here. Is Derek grown out his hair? Is it the lighting? No, it's my hair. I've been lazy. I haven't shaved it in a while. And it's cold outside, so it's good to have hair right now. Okay, lastly, the Monday night game. Had to be moved to Arizona for very good reasons. What's going on in LA right now still is terrible. Palisades, I don't know if it'll ever go back to what it was before. But it was good to see the NFL honor, what's going on with LA right now. And I can't imagine what the Rams players had to go through in preparation for this game. And they looked unfazed. They kicked ass. It's clear that the blueprint that Aaron Glenn had on the Vikings offense was replicated by Chris Shula and the Rams to just blitz the hell out of Sam Darnold. And he was seeing ghosts all over again. It's true, dude. Like, he just looked lost.
Yeah.
It was a repeat of last week against the Lions. And I mean, from everything from the start of that game, like Akella Witherspoon looks great with the Rams right now.
Yeah,
and this Rams team, defensively, they lost Aaron Donald, and they got better. All these guys, these first and second year
drafted
guys.
well. Kobe Turner and Jared Verse just completely changed them up.
Oh, definitely. That and my guy Bobby Brown, his nose tackle, Brandon Fursk. They got players now. Which is going to be a problem for them with the Niners going forward, I think, is that I don't know about them offensively in the future, because I think right now I'd still say Matthew Stafford's the best quarterback of that division. But the last couple of weeks offensively, I don't think they put up a lot of points. And I think it's a debate out there. Like, Puka Nacua is the number one guy on that team as far as receiver. There was talk about them trading Cooper Kupp at the deadline. I could see them revisiting that this offseason. But yeah, I mean, Sean McVay, I brought this up today on the show. Would you say by default over Kyle Shanahan, because he's won the Super Bowl, is he the second best coach in the league right now next to Andy Reid?
Ooh, second best coach in the league?
Yeah. In the league?
That's a pretty loaded question, but I guess.
Loaded? I mean, who else would you say?
Oh, God. I guess you got to give it to Sean McVay. The only ones I could think of are just the ones who are kind of blossoming right now. They haven't exactly reached the pinnacle. Like, I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking of like a D'Amico Ryans or even a Dan Campbell, but Sean McVay is probably that.
Yeah, I think you have to give it to McVay. And Kevin O'Connell has had a great season this year. He should be the winner for Coach of the Year. I think Sam Darnold should be a comeback player of the year. It was clear that Sam Darnold was getting abused and just blitzed every single play. And I thought that Kevin O'Connell needs to adapt in those situations and come up with some blitz beating plays. But Sam just had a hard time seeing the field when there was pressure in his face. I did think the Matthew Stafford stretching the ball out, fumble, not a fumble, incomplete pass, that was a ticky-tack call. Yes, his arm was kind of going forward, but most of the time that would be considered a fumble.
I stand with Bill Belichick on the Manning cast with what he said. The way he reacted is basically, why do all these rules have to help the offense? Like, that should be a fumble. I'm sorry, but you can't just flick the ball out there with no one in your vicinity and just say, oh, yeah, that's an incomplete pass. Like, that shouldn't be allowed. That should be a fumble.
Well, the irony of that is kind of Tuck Ruley, wouldn't you say, Bill?
Oh, well, Bill's always full of hypocrisy, but he
Yeah.
was the loudest about it. He was the one who straight like, you can't do that. It should have been a fumble. But
It definitely should have been a fumble. Regardless, that did not determine the outcome of that game. The Rams kicked their ass. I mean, everything from the strip sack recovered by Jared Verse for the touchdown, the fourth down head slam to end the half that led to a Rams touchdown. At that point, when they went up 24-3 at halftime, I was like, this game's over. Like I couldn't see them come back in this game.
I wasn't looking at anything through social media, but was anyone critiquing Kevin O'Connell for going for it on fourth down towards the end of the half there?
No, not that I saw, but I was thinking about that too. Like, you only got a couple seconds left, and you're going to let the
you should have faith in your offense here. You're giving the Rams, who were dealing, like you could tell when Matt Stafford's on. Like it's from the jump. It's from the jump. You could just tell when Matt Stafford's on brought his A game. And yesterday I thought last night I thought he did. So just to run it on 4th and 2, run a play with a minute and a half left. Yeah, I just didn't. I didn't like that call initially.
I didn't either, but now that
I know they were desperate. They were desperate.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like you gotta get some offense somewhere, but. Just felt like you were giving the Rams, and it felt like that was the nail in the coffin there, even though it wasn't. But it felt like that's when the Rams really had him. It's like, okay, momentum's on their side.
There was a minute 30 left in the game. They were on their own 50. I get if you score a touchdown there, it's 17-10, or you kick a field goal, it's 17-6. I kind of understand it, but it totally blew up in your face. So that's the end result, and that's what killed you in the game. Now, the biggest talking point today is, how could you pay Sam Darnold after that? How could you move forward with him at quarterback? And there were moments in the game last night where you saw Kevin O'Connell looking on the sideline, just being like, "The fuck are you doing, man?" And even after the game, he was asked about his future with the team, and he was like, "Sam's done great stuff for us, but we're gonna have to make hard decisions this offseason." So not a ringing endorsement that he would come back, but you're never going to say stuff like that. It's
not great when you're saying I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
I enjoyed the ride this year.
Well, I think the whole goal of the season was, let's get through it with Sam as the starter, and then we'll go to JJ. But they never anticipated Sam Darnold, who I did say this before the season started, Stephen, would have career highs in passing yards and touchdown passes. And he did. He was fantastic for most of the season. He just went back to the Jets, Sam Darnold, the last 2 weeks of the year. Now, should that prevent him from making a good contract this offseason? I don't know. I mean, if you're the Vikings, are you that confident in J.J. McCarthy? Like, would you want to do J.J. McCarthy and Daniel Jones as his backup? Kind of makes sense. I could see that. But then you also can't totally poo-poo what he did for you for most of the season.
That's why I wonder if this helps the Vikings more than it hurts them as far as the future.
Signing him back?
Yeah, like maybe this really decreased his value to the point where you're not going to get into a bidding war with another team if you want to keep him or not. Like, I think this could easily play out where you just sign him to an easy contract, the backup contract, an expensive backup contract. You bring him into camp. You have Sam Darnold be the number one guy. You have him and JJ McCarthy battle it out in training camp. And if JJ wins that job, then eventually Darnold becomes a trade piece. I wouldn't have a problem if I'm the Vikings. I'm serious. I wouldn't have a problem running it back with Darnold one more year if that's what if they can. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. So I think in a way, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen because I don't know, but I think if anything, this might have helped them at least with the contract situation and maybe taking some drama out of it.
Yeah, if I'm the Vikings, I'm not going to overpay for Sam Darnold. Like, I think at this point, you could franchise tag him, which would be $40 million for one season. So maybe that's appropriate for what he accomplished last year. Maybe like a Baker Mayfield contract, but not for that long. You don't need to do 3 years, 2 years max. If it's going to be where teams want him as like the starter, then yeah, by all means, let him go. But if the market is, we see him as a bridge guy, then yeah, the Vikings should do the same thing. Like, we'll sign you to a 1-year deal, and we'll bring you back, and we'll battle it out in training camp, and the best man wins.
You also got quite a few guys you could franchise tag. Though I think that's really where the conundrum starts. And you got Cam Bynum coming up to the end of his rookie deal.
Yeah.
Ryan Wright, the punter. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I guess those are the only two, really. I guess, I don't know, it's Patrick Jones, but I don't think Patrick Jones would be a franchise tag candidate. So maybe that's the only other guy. But yeah, Darnold might be a franchise tag candidate, and then you could trade him. I think the Vikings can handle this very well here.
Yeah, but I also think there's teams out there that could see the same thing and be like, we're not really enamored with any of these quarterbacks in this draft. So the Giants with Brian Dable could be like, we'll take Darnold. The Browns with Kevin Stefanski could be like, we'll take Darnold.
Yeah.
I'll throw this out there too. And I know Alon hates this idea. It's been thrown out in the chat. Ben Johnson's your head coach with the Raiders. Is it terrible to get Sam Darnold? I don't know.
I'd be open to it, but I'm not going to say that's what I want.
I'm with you on that. I have to see it. And there's a lot of the Ben Johnson stuff heating up with the Raiders. We'll get to that in a little bit here. But the real thing that came away from not only this game, but Purdy's performance and Jordan Love. Oh, sorry, not Purdy's performance. Herbert's performance is that I think you should feel comfortable signing Brock Purdy. I do. Like, not to say I still would rather have Herbert and Jordan Love over Brock Purdy. I would rather have Brock Purdy over Sam Darnold. But I think you can say if those guys are having those type of performances in the playoffs and Purdy's won in the playoffs, I think you're justified giving him the contract. However, $60 million, I don't know about that. I think at this point, Purdy's earned the contract that he's going to get, which will probably be in the 55 range. So I know Niner fans are freaking out about that. I heard some on the radio even yesterday on our show say, like, just sign Darnold, get rid of Purdy and just sign Darnold. No, I think you should go forward with Brock Purdy over Sam Darnold.
I think you should. I'm not gonna say anything about Brock Purdy and those playoff performances and just how damn good the team was as well as he was. It's a team sport, and then all of a sudden we're bringing up these quarterback wins again when that was the argument for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's like, I'm tired that's got back into the whole idea. Like, oh, Purdy's 4-2 in the playoffs. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, but quarterbacks or wins are not a quarterback stat. We weren't bringing them up with Jimmy. I'm not going to bring them up with Purdy.
That's fair.
These were very different circumstances, but God, they were so lucky to have Christian McCaffrey, the way the play that he was playing. But and now I'm taking away from what Brock Purdy's doing, and now I hate Brock Purdy. Steven, you're a Brock Purdy hater. I hate the discourse around that. Can't say anything negative about the guy, but but I do think they should pay him, and I don't even think these playoffs really changed my mind one way or another. Like, I wasn't going to sit here if the Vikings maybe move past the divisional round, hell, even into the NFC Championship, I still wouldn't have said, oh, the Niners should try and get Sam Darnold. Like, Brock Purdy works with Kyle Shanahan. You are paying these guys not just for the individual. You are paying for how they can work with their respective teams. And Brock Purdy seems to be perfect for the 49ers. So I think it's a match made in heaven there.
And we'll say this throughout the offseason. I anticipate them getting the deal done fairly quickly, probably early on in free agency. These quarterback contracts are going to get worse. And by worse, I mean more ridiculous when it comes to AAV. Josh Allen could get a new deal. Mahomes in time. Just wait. You'll look back on the Purdy deal and be like, that's nothing. Then what's going to happen with some of these quarterbacks? CJ Stroud. Just think of these guys that are going to get paid down the line. It's going to be ridiculous.
Look what Mahomes is making right now and what they paid him earlier. Everyone thought they were crazy for signing him to a 10-year, $450 million deal.
Yeah.
But look what it's got him.
Yeah. And then you're not paying these guys on what they do in the playoffs. That's not really what these contracts are about. It's about the potential. And do you feel comfortable with them being your quarterback going forward? And right now, the likes of Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa, for those franchises, it's enough for them to be like, yeah, we'll lock this guy up for the foreseeable future. and it may bite their team in the ass. We'll see how the Niners handle it. Like, do they have to say goodbye to certain players this offseason? Yeah, I would anticipate that Debo's going to be gone. And would they have to just go crazy this offseason? No. In time, yeah. But that's why you sign Purdy now, you try to capitalize on the window you have, and then you go from there.
Right. And I think that I just don't think the 49ers are going to be Super Bowl favorites like they were in years past, but I think they're very much going to be in line to be a playoff team next year, potentially even win their division. So,
yeah.
I think you're pretty well set if you're a 49er fan.
And that's it when it comes to the wild card games. As far as coaching news, Sunday morning, it's official. Weren't really surprised by this one. We were anticipating it. Mike Vrabel becomes the head coach of the New England Patriots. And yeah, I mean, like we were hoping that Vrabel was an option for the Raiders this year, but when it became clear that that was the game plan for the Patriots after they fired Jerron Mayo, I think everybody's okay with that. And it makes sense. Yeah, Mike Vrabel, former Patriot. I know that people are going to look at the shadiness of Robert Kraft firing Jerron Mayo after one season. The truth is he got buyer's remorse. He wanted Jerron Mayo to be his leader of men. And once he saw that Mike Vrabel was available, I'm sure he was like, damn it. I promised Jerron Mayo this job. You got to give it to him. At least try it out for a year. Excuses to get rid of him. He finally got his guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Simple. And then the Ben Johnson Raiders stuff. So Saturday morning before the games kick off, basically every NFL insider from Tom Pelissero to Ian Rappaport to Peter Schrager to Adam Schefter all say, look out for Ben Johnson with the Raiders. And you and I were talking about it, how did Tom Telesco get fired because basically Ben Johnson told Tom Brady, I need to pick my own GM if I'm going to interview with you guys. And that's what's going down. So he interviewed with them last Friday. It sounds like Tom Brady's willing to move heaven and earth to get this guy. He's enamored with him. Mark Davis is basically letting Tom do his thing. It sounds like for right now, I don't know from Ben Johnson's perspective, but the Raiders are all in on getting him. And the other backup options, from what I've read, Pete Carroll is seriously in the mix, which is, Pete's won a Super Bowl, but he's up there in age now. You got to wonder how long he wants to do it for. Robert Saleh interviewed as well, but from everything you hear, it sounds like the Raiders really want Ben Johnson badly. And Ben Johnson has to make a decision. Do I want to go to a team like the Bears or the Jaguars that have quarterbacks, but GM's already in place? Or do I want to start from scratch, do my own thing, be able to pick my quarterback, be given the freedom that only Kyle Shanahan was given as a first-time head coach?
Right.
So that'll be the interesting part, and will be very interesting is we're going to hear Tom Brady call some Lions games. I would anticipate the Lions advance against the Commanders. So then we'll hear Tom Brady the next 2 weeks call Ben Johnson games. And, he's not allowed to interview Ben Johnson as Raiders minority owner. I bet you there's some shady shit behind the scenes where Brady's talking to Ben Johnson while he's calling these games.
Of course.
Yeah. So
this is Tom Brady we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
The guy who cheated. He cheated. He was amazing, but he cheated.
Yeah.
Come on, Deflategate. It was still, it was nothing. It was still deflating footballs, but he still deflated the footballs.
Yeah.
He still did that.
No, I'm with you.
God, remember, was it LaShawn McCoy? LaShawn McCoy was on some podcast. I don't know what it was, but he talked about his time in Tampa Bay when it was Tampa Bay. And they were practicing for the playoffs. And Shady's like, hey, are we going to practice these plays? Tom Brady's like, no. Nope, not practicing those. Why? People are watching. See those windows? There could be someone up there. He knows what it's like in the NFL. And I mean, that was a veteran thing of him to do. But I think Tom Brady would be doing behind the scenes shit like that. Nefarious.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Spygate and Deflategate. You know, one of the name of the guys that they're interviewing for Raiders GM?
Who's that?
This guy named Spytech. Last name Spytech.
Spytech.
His name, I'll get it for you. But yeah.
John Spytech. Can they give him the job right now?
John Spytech?
Yeah, I'm sold on the name. That's all I need.
I mean, yeah. If you wanted anybody that's like a affiliated with Tom Brady, a guy that's named Spytech definitely checks out from his days with the Patriots. Yeah, Spytech, John Spytech is the assistant general manager with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I believe, yeah, he was there with Tom Brady with the Bucs.
That guy's last name is Spytech. That's like if like the CEO of TB12 was last named Avocado.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that guy. There's also, I think, other guy they're interviewing for GM, Sheldon White, who works with the Steelers. And I was snooping around to see, like, are there any Lions guys that Ben Johnson would know that he would want him to be their, help him out, be the GM? You know who's like a creative consultant in the GM department with the Lions right now? John Dorsey. Remember him? The Chiefs and Browns GM. He drafted Patrick Mahomes and he drafted Baker Mayfield. So that could be an option. Also, I was looking back to see if Ben Johnson knew any defensive coordinators. You know who was on the Miami Dolphins staff back in the day with Ben Johnson?
Who's that?
Mr. Lou Anarumo. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson gets this Raiders job, Lou Anarumo might be his DC.
It is Anarumo, right? Or Anarumo?
Anarumo, I believe it's how pronounced.
Okay, good. All right.
And I also saw this before we hopped on. Apparently, there is supposedly going to be some news tomorrow as it pertains to the Raiders and their GM/head coaching search. Not that they can hire Ben Johnson by any means tomorrow because he's still coaching, but from Vic Tafur, a lot of Raider Twitter accounts are saying there's news. We're on the verge of some news tomorrow. And I saw this from Vic Tafur. Some guy asking him, Vic, you have been silent. Who's the favorite for head coach right now? Vic replies, another big story coming out in the morning.
Good Lord.
So I don't know what the hell's going on. I think at this point, Raider fans would be very disappointed if Ben Johnson's not the head coach. I don't think that. I think they have to give it time on Pete Carroll or Robert Saleh. And by the way, Niners are waiting on Robert Saleh as they want him to be DC. It sounds like, but he's interviewing with the Raiders and the Jaguars. So we'll see how long they have to wait. But I can't anticipate Robert Saleh getting that job. Pete Carroll could be the backup option to Ben Johnson. I would also say this. Ben Johnson looks awesome. He's not going to have the same players that he had in Detroit. Kind of is a little making me kind of have Josh McDaniels vibes, but not the same. So I don't know. We'll see if it actually happens.
It's not the same Josh McDaniels vibes. You don't have guys going on podcasts saying, I don't know about this guy. No, you have dudes singing his praises. It's not going to be the same as that. It looks more like it's trending towards the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay kind rather than the Josh McDaniels kind.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it would be very reminiscent of Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. If Tom Brady, if this game is out of hand between the Commanders and Lions, the most intriguing thing might be what Tom Brady says about Ben Johnson. In the same way, I remember very well, we didn't know this was going to happen, but John Lynch talking glowingly about Kyle Shanahan in the Falcons playoff games.
Right.
So it could be very similar. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. And then yesterday, God, the Cowboys, what a shit show. We were anticipating that Mike McCarthy was going to sign back with the Cowboys. That's what they made it seem like. They were trying to get a contract done. And then yesterday it comes out that the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are going their separate ways. He's not coming back as head coach after waiting a week when the Cowboys could have been interviewing teams that were on buys, their coaches, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Chiefs players, Chiefs coaches. No, they're late to the party.
Mm-hmm.
They apparently it wasn't even about contract dispute. Like Jerry Jones thought it over and thought it was in the best interest that the Cowboys move on from Mike McCarthy. And it sounds like Mike McCarthy was either expecting to get paid, or he had options. There's a team out there that really wants him, and from all indications, it sounds like, if I had to guess right now, I think Mike McCarthy is going to be the head coach of the Bears.
Yeah.
If they don't, if it sounds like Ben Johnson has his heart set on the Raiders because of Tom Brady, then yeah, I think Mike McCarthy is going to be your Chicago Bears head coach. Although I did see this on Sunday. This was an intriguing name. Marcus Freeman, the head coach of Notre Dame, he got a huge contract extension, is going to play the national championship game. But he's a former Bear, kind of close proximity to Notre Dame from Chicago. That's not a bad idea. I don't think that would be bad at all. It kind of would be like a Dan Campbell type of thing. He actually called defensive plays. He could find a good offensive coordinator. If they went that route, that would be interesting. But I think if I had to guess right now, Mike McCarthy would be your Bears head coach. And now for the Cowboys, Jesus Christ. They're not getting Belichick. He's going to stay in North Carolina.
Right.
The names that are being talked about right now are Kellen Moore, the Eagles offensive coordinator, which makes sense. I can see that. Jason Witten. What? Like, we're really doing this? The Ebakam guy that has never coached in the league? Ebaki. Like it'd be Jeff Saturday all over again. He's never coached. And then there's Dion. You primetime, baby. They're talking to Dion, and there's no way in hell that they're getting Shador in the draft. You're not taking that $104 million dead cap hit with trading away Dak Prescott. But Jerry Jones wants guys that are going to do what he says. And I don't know if Dion would just be, whatever you say, Jerry, but I do think that he's kind of looking for the Dan Campbell type, guys that he trusts, former players. Yeah, it would be fucking nuts, but I would not be the least bit surprised if Deion Sanders becomes the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Your guess is as good as mine, man. I don't know. I don't know where they're going. I was surprised. I was shocked they even did this in the first place. Like, I was shocked they let Mike McCarthy go. But it feels like with these interviews, like the Marcus Freeman, Deion Sanders angle becomes more and more clear. Like, they could easily talk to college coaches behind the scenes. I could see Jerry Jones going old school, going to like some dive bar and going to a payphone. They call it Deion from a payphone, one that can't be traced.
Okay.
You guys get a random
that's all specific, but
Deion goes and gets a random number from some bar in Round Rock, Texas. And he just randomly answers, "Hey, we're going to this prime time." And then he's like, "Hey, Deion, I want you. I want you back. We need you to be the head coach. I want you." Who is this, man?
Yeah.
I think me being sick really helps with the Deion impression. I need to be sick more often.
It's not bad, although nothing compares to mine.
Yes.
Jerry, what's going on, baby? It's prime time. You bringing Shador? You can't bring Shador. I understand. It's all good.
What about
Travis? What about Travis Hunter? Can we trade him to get Travis? Can't get Trav. His girlfriend's too much.
You can get Shiloh, and I'm not talking about that super sad movie with the. God damn it! What's that movie, Shiloh?
It's the dog.
The dog. God damn it! I ruined that.
Beagle? Was it Beagle?
It was a beagle. I was about to say Beagle.
But yeah, no. But by the way, have you seen this? Have you seen this show with Jerry Jones, Landman?
Seen the clip.
Yeah, he's speaking from the heart there. But everybody thinks the show is amazing.
Really?
It's getting great reviews. It's the same guy, I think Taylor Sheridan, that made Yellowstone and Tulsa King and all those shows.
Yeah.
This guy makes like literally every show on Paramount Plus. Every like Texas Oil or Narcotics or any like, like Let Me Go to the South to Be a Gangster type of show.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought there was one clip I saw where it was a really awkward thing where he's talking to his daughter, and then his response was, "I'm gonna get me a Dr. Pepper."
Yeah. He loves himself some iced tea or Dr. Pepper. Yeah, like in the show Landman, he's like doing this whole speech about how like, made a lot of mistakes in my time, and one thing I don't regret is having my children work with me. It's a real blessing. And then it ends with like John Hamm and like the bed being like, "Well, thank you, Jerry. No problem. Don't let me get my rubber glove now." Yeah.
Moving on.
He says that at the end.
Ugh.
So we'll see if the Cowboys make things interesting by signing old Dion. How do you think Guru would react to that?
I mean, I don't know about that, but did you see his tweet after McCarthy got fired?
No.
It's like everyone was confused. There was mixed reaction, I'd say. And then you see Guru respond in all caps. There is a God.
Yeah, but like I get that. Like, believe me, like we were thinking like McCarthy again, huh? Okay. But then you're like, well, shit. What was your backup plan? You let this go for a week, and now you're behind the 8 ball like everyone else? Good Lord.
Yeah. But I think of these college coaches, it's lining up for them.
It might. If I was Steve Sarkisian with Texas, I would interview. I would not take that job. You're better off staying in Texas with Arch Manning. Please stay. Although, you know what? Can I just talk about that for a second?
Sure.
That was brutal last Friday night. I mean, I was expecting them to win, but goddamn, at the 1 yard line, and then to get back, like push back on like a weird pitch play, and then the fumble for the touchdown. Like Quinn Ewers, nice guy. I don't know if he should go to the NFL. If I were him, I'd take the $6 million to go transfer. Give me Arch Manning already. Like, Jesus. Too much. Okay, before we get out of here, you want to bring this up, Steven. Warriors lose last night to the 8-win Toronto Raptors. And to say like that was the lowest point of the season, sure. I mean, I could argue that last week against the Miami Heat was pretty low. But I can
argue that losing by 51 to the Grizzlies was pretty damn low too.
Exactly. So pick and choose whatever the lowest point of the season is. It's all bad. And it was for them it was a competitive game last night. Andrew Wiggins came back from a 2-game absence and looked pretty good. Steph looked good too, but in the end, they don't win the game. And it led to an interesting locker room kind of scrum with Steph Curry where he was like, we shouldn't just to trade. Like he sounds dejected, but at the same time, he's like, I don't think it's in the best interest of us to just trade away assets when I'm there, when there's nothing, when I'm gone and Draymond's gone. Like if there was he even says like, if there was a deal worth doing by now, I would have known about it. So to me, it sounds like Steph, not interested in Jimmy Butler, not interested in Vucevic, not interested in Cam Johnson. He's like, what's the point at that? What's the point? Like, we're not going to get better. We're not going to be a top seed in the West. It is what it is. So I every beat writer I talk to on the shows, like, they're not going to trade Kuminga. They see value in him. They're probably going to sign him to a deal. And I'm like, okay, but you're not, I mean, I don't know. At this point for the Warriors, I would just say if you can move Kuminga, cool. But it doesn't sound like Joe Lacob wants to. So it's not so much what can you do by the trade deadline. It's what can you do next offseason. How much can you blow it up by still being competitive with Steph Curry for 2 years?
I think it was also like I commend Steph. And it's funny when I saw Brian Windhorst react, saying, I haven't heard a player talk like this at all in midseason. Well, that's because you're in an NBA that's full of selfish players that are just looking to either get big stars or get traded to another team. And I don't think I think not just, I think that really speaks to the selflessness of Steph Curry. But with that being said, yeah, it just felt like a message, because it's all fans talk about. It's all we've talked about with the Warriors. Is there going to be a trade? Is there going to be this? Is there going to be that? When in reality, it's probably never going to happen. And I think they're just bracing you for what? How long? How far are we here? Do we have 31 days in January?
Yes, we do.
So you're going 17 days plus what I think there's the 6th that is the deadline, right?
Yep.
So you got 23 days. I don't think we should be expecting anything in these next 23 days. It's I thought it was fascinating, but I also think this is it gives vindication and validation to the idea that a lot of these decisions that they make are collaborative. It's not just a Steve Kerr and Mike Dunleavy situation. There's always one name that we point to. There's always one guy. It's always Joe Lacob. It's always Mike Dunleavy. It's always Steve Kerr. When in reality, it's a collaborative effort. And I don't think people seem to understand that. And when there's no moves that are being made, it's like, well, what's Mike Dunleavy doing? Probably being told they don't feel like any of these moves are worth it right now.
Yeah. And we could also, there's also the possibility that they could do a sign and trade with Kuminga this offseason. If they really think that they can get a lot of value for him, it's better to wait till the offseason when a better move's on the table and then just work it out with the team that wants to sign him and trade him to that. That could happen. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's on the horizon for this team. And it's better than LeBron demanding from Rob Pelinka, just get me somebody. Just get me somebody. Instead, Steph's like, I don't see the value in just doing a trade willy-nilly. Like, it's the same thing that happened in the offseason. I don't know what to believe. There's conflicting reports where Draymond told Mike Dunleavy, don't do that deal to trade Podziemski and Moses Moody and Kuminga for Larry Markkinen. Like, come on, that's good in the franchise.
Yeah.
And whatever deals you make right now, most likely you're going to have to gut the team, like when it comes to a superstar. So it's the best thing to do is it's going to suck. It's going to be a lot of, boring sports talk radio. But I think we're just going to see this team the way it is right now for the rest of the season. And that's when you start seeing massive changes this offseason.
Yeah. Yeah. Might have to break down the games.
God forbid, right? Talk about Chris Boucher scoring 17 points in the fourth quarter.
Boucher!
Well done, Stephen. Well done.
Thanks.
My boo thing. All right, that's all I got for tonight. Actually, real quick. We can do a little pop culture catch up before we get out of here. As we predicted, I haven't seen it yet, but I want to. The Robbie Williams movie, Better Man, getting amazing reviews across the board, honestly. Box office wise, not doing well. Because, as I thought, people here in America don't know who Robbie Williams is, which is fair. In the UK, though, Stephen, people are not seeing the movie because I think people find the whole premise weird. But that's why I love it, and I really want to go see it badly.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch it tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Just kidding, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
That was just a joke. I'm not going anywhere tomorrow.
What kind of joke is that?
I don't know. But but I'm tired of the disrespect. I'm tired of it. Tired of the disrespect to my boy Robbie. But it is what it is. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Can't love them all.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, one of my favorite movies of all time is Pop Star with Andy Samberg, the Lonely Island movie. It's very well done for being a mockumentary almost in the same style of Spinal Tap when it comes to a Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift concert movie. But
Right.
did that perform well at the box office? No, it bombed. So the best movies sometimes just some mainstream audiences just don't get. So yeah, eventually, yeah, Steven and I will get around to seeing this thing, and then we'll decide for ourselves.
It'll be a cult classic. They'll put it on Netflix, and then you'll just see it blaring right there. It's like, what do you have to choose from? The Life and Times of the Jerry Springer Show or Better Man?
Is that doing well too? I thought, did that come out already?
Yeah, it came out. I don't know if it's doing well, but it came out.
Yeah. Have you watched it at all?
I watched
Good?
it. It's 2 episodes, so it's not very long, and
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah, it's more about like the producers and just I don't know. It's decent. I mean, it's a show about the Jerry Springer Show.
Okay.
Can't say there's too much that's like surprising about it. You kind of figured something was going on, but like behind the scenes, but it's pretty good. Has a good it's very climactic, I'd say.
All right. I'll check it out. Anything else, Steven?
I got nothing.
All right, then. I'll let you rest up and get feeling better.
Oh.
We will be back on Thursday night to pick the wildcard games, the divisional round, super divisional round. Got the Texans playing the Chiefs, got the Commies playing the Lions, the Rams playing the Eagles, and the Ravens playing the Bills. Should be good. All right, guys, we'll see you on Thursday. For everybody in the chat, the skills report. Our guy Alon, what's going on? Pat H, AJ Cruz, Otis Bird is the word. I already said Otis Bird. Rocka New Era, also known as Ernie 2, and Ernie 1. And Techie for a little bit of time, always has to rush off to watch some Kitchen Nightmares. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Steven, say what you always say.
I am going to close our show out on this because let's not forget Steph Curry, one of the greatest we've ever seen. And this is Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic.
Yes, Steph Curry.
Doing my best. Doing my best. Steph Curry is a player it's a privilege for all of us to live in an era and to work in this era in NBA when he's playing. I just told my coaching staff, I've been playing against him for a long, long time. I can't wait for him to retire. I'm going to get drunk that night. I promise you that.
Just our opinion, man.